Hello everybody, I'm Miss Trish. I'm one of the RE teachers at UU St. Petersburg, and I'm here with the lesson for November the 1st. And this month's theme is, what does it mean to be a people of healing? And this lesson is called, Don't Run Away from the Hard Work of Healing. I'm going to light the chalice so we can get started. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our faith reminds us that healing takes work. After a fight with someone, it's easy to never want to see that person again. We'd rather ignore or run away from the mess. This is true whether we are the ones who harmed or we're the ones that got harmed. It takes courage, commitment, and skill to successfully travel the path of healing. So what's one way our faith guides us into becoming a people of healing? It tells us, don't run away from the hard work of healing. Everyone fights from time to time. So we're going to look at untangling and healing the knots of hurt. Here's a knot. These shoelaces got tied in a real knot. It looks like it's a bow, but you can't pull it loose. Knots are useful in sailing, rock climbing, camping, and all sorts of situations. Knots also are a way of describing the tangled fights between people and the ways each of us feels after getting in a fight. Some folks say, it feels like there's a knot in my stomach. Just like it's hard to untangle a knot, it's also hard to fix a relationship when we hurt someone. Untying a knot helps us remember some important things about how to fix a mistake we've made or a mess that has arisen between us and others. First, it's good to admit that there's a knot. Ignoring the knot only makes it tighter and harder to untangle. It takes effort to untie a knot. We can't give up after only one try. Sometimes we have to ask others for help and advice about how to untie complicated knots. Be ready for more knots to develop as you're untying and trying to untie the first one. Tying and untying knots requires practice and skill. Here's a picture of a beautiful but complicated knot called a Chinese crown knot. Isn't this cool? I used to use this knot sometimes in macrame. Now I'm going to move on to the story. This is a science fiction story and it's kind of long, and the language used isn't the typical language that we use. So get comfortable and get ready for this story. It's by Ray Bradbury, a very famous science fiction writer, and we'll include the link so you can revisit the story later. It's called All Summer in a Day. Ready? Ready. Now? Soon. Do the scientists know? Will it really happen today? Will it? Look and see for yourselves. The children pressed to each other like many roses, so many weeds, intermixed, peering out for a look at the hidden sun. It rained. It had been raining for 7 years. Thousands upon thousands of days, compounded and filled from one end to the other with rain, with the drum and gush of water, with the sweet crystal fall of showers and the concussion of storms so heavy they were like tidal waves come to rush over the islands. 1,000 forests had been crushed under the rain and grown up 1,000 times to be crushed again. And this was the way of life forever on the planet Venus. And this was the schoolroom of the children of the rocket men and women who had come to a raining world to set up civilization and live out their lives. It's stopping! It's stopping! Yes, yes. Margaret stood apart from them, from these children who could never remember a time when it wasn't rain and rain and rain. They were all 9 years old, and if there had been a day 7 years ago when the sun had come out for an hour and showed its face to the stunned world, they could not recall it. Sometimes at night she heard them stir in remembrance, and she knew they were dreaming and remembering gold, or yellow crayon, or a large coin, large enough to buy the world with. She knew they thought they remembered the warmth of it, like a blushing in the face, in the body, in the arms and legs, and trembling hands. But then they always awoke to the tatting drum, the endless shaking down of clear bead necklaces upon the roof, on the walk, down the gardens, the forest, and their dreams were gone. All day yesterday they had read in class about the sun, and how like a lemon it was, and how hot. And they had all written small stories or essays or poems about it. I think the sun is like a flower that blooms for just an hour. That was Margaret's poem, read in a quiet voice in a steel classroom while the rain was falling outside. "Oh, you didn't write that," protested one boy. "I did," said Margaret. "I did." "William," said the teacher. But that was yesterday. Now the rain was slackening, and the children were crushed into the great thick windows. "Where's the teacher?" "She'll be back." "She better hurry or we'll miss it." They turned on themselves like a feverish wheel, all tumbling spokes. Margaret stood alone. She was a very frail girl who looked as if she'd been lost in the rain for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes, and the red from her mouth, and the yellow from her hair. She was an old photograph, dusted from an album, whitened away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. Now she stood, separate, staring at the rain and the loud, wet world beyond the huge glass. "What are you looking at?" said William. Margaret said nothing. "Speak when you're spoken to." He gave her a shove, but she did not move. Rather, she let herself be moved only by him and nothing else. They edged away from her. They would not look at her. She felt them go away. And this was because she would play no games with them in the echoing tunnels of the underground city. If they tagged her and ran, she stood blinking after them and did not follow. When the class sang songs about happiness and life and games, she barely moved her lips. Only when they sang songs about the sun in summer did her lips move as she watched the drenched windows. And then, of course, the biggest crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago from Earth and she remembered the sun, and the way the sun was, and the way the sky was, and when she was 4 years old in Ohio. And they had never been anywhere in their whole lives but Venus. And they had only been 2 years old last time the sun came out, and long since had they forgotten the color of it and the way it really was. But Margaret remembered. "It's like a penny," she said once, her eyes closed. "No, it's not," the children cried. "It's like a fire," she said, "in the stove." "You're lying. You don't remember," cried the children. But she remembered and stood quietly apart from them and watched the patterning windows. And once, a month ago, she had refused to shower in the school shower room. She had clutched her hands to her ears over her head, screaming that the water mustn't touch her head. So after that, dimly, she sensed it. She was different, and they knew her difference and kept away. There was talk that her father and mother were taking her back to Earth next year. It seemed vital to her that they did so, though she knew it would mean the loss of thousands of dollars to her family. And so the children hated her for these reasons of big and little consequence. They hated her pale snow face and her waiting silence, her thinness, and her possible future. "Get away!" The boy gave her another push. "What are you waiting for?" Then, for the first time, she turned and looked at him. And what she was waiting for was in her eyes. "Well, don't wait around here," cried the boy savagely. "You won't see nothing." Her lips moved. "Nothing," he cried. "It was a joke, wasn't it?" He turned to the other children. "Nothing's happening today, is it?" They all blinked at him, and then, understanding, they laughed and shook their heads. "Nothing, nothing." "Oh, but," Margaret whispered, her eyes helpless, "but this is the day the scientists predicted. They say they know the sun—" "All a joke," said the boy, and seized her roughly. "Hey, everyone, let's put her in a closet before the teacher comes." "No," Margaret said, falling back. They surged about her, caught her and bore her, protesting, then pleading and crying, back into the tunnel, a room, the closet, where they slammed and locked the door. She stood looking at the door and saw it tremble beneath her, beating and throwing herself against it. They on the other side heard her muffled cries. Then, smiling, they turned and went out back down the tunnel just as the teacher arrived. "Ready, children?" She glanced at her watch. "Yes," said everyone. "Are we all here?" "Yes." The rain slacked still more. They crowded to the huge door. The rain stopped, and it was as if, in the midst of a film concerning an avalanche, a tornado, a hurricane, a volcanic eruption, something had first gone wrong with the sound apparatus, muffling and finally cutting off all noise of all blasts and repercussions and thunders, and then, second, ripped the film from the projector and inserted in its place a beautiful tropical slide which did not move or tremor. The world ground to a standstill. The silence was so immense and unbelievable that you felt your ears had been stuffed, or you had lost your hearing altogether. The children put their hands to their ears. They stood apart. The door slid back, and the smell of the silent, waiting world came into them. The sun came out, and it was the color of flaming bronze, and it was very large, and the sky around it was a blazing blue tile color, and the jungle burned, and the sunlight, as the children, released from their spell, rushed out, yelling into the springtime. "Now don't go too far," called the teacher after them. "You've only got 2 hours, you know, and you don't want to get caught out." But they were running and turning, their faces up to the sky, feeling the sun on their cheeks like a warm iron, and they were taking off their jackets and letting the sun burn their arms. "Oh, it's better than sun lamps, isn't it?" "Much better." They stopped running and stood in the great jungle that covered Venus. That jungle grew and never stopped growing, tumultuously, even as you watched it. It was a nest of octopi, clustering up great arms of flesh-like weeds, wavering, flowering in this brief spring. It was the color of rubber and ash, this jungle, from many years without sun. It was the color of stones and white cheeses and ink. It was the color of the moon. The children lay out, laughing on the jungle mattress, and heard it squeak under them, resilient and alive. They ran among the trees. They slipped and fell. They pushed each other. They played hide and seek and tag, but most of all, they squinted up at the sun until tears ran down their faces. And they put their hands up to that yellowness and the amazing blueness, and they breathed the fresh, fresh air and listened to the silence which suspended them in a blessed sea of no sound and no motion. They looked at everything and savored everything, then looked like animals escaped from their cages. They ran around in circles, shouting. They ran for an hour and did not stop running. And then, in the midst of their running, one girl wailed. Everyone stopped. The girl, standing in the open, held out her hand. "Oh, oh," she said, trembling. They came slowly to look at her open palm. In the center of it, cupped and huge, was a single raindrop. She began to cry, looking at it. They glanced silently at the sun. "Oh, oh!" A few cold raindrops fell on their noses, on their cheeks, and their mouths. The sun faded behind a stir of mist. The wind blew cold around them, and then they turned and started to walk back towards the underground house, their hands at their sides, their smiles vanishing away. And a boom of thunder startled them, and like leaves before a new hurricane, they tumbled upon each other and ran. Lightning struck 10 miles away, 5 miles away, a half a mile away. The sky darkened into midnight in a flash. They stood in the doorway of the underground for a moment until it was raining hard. Then they closed the door and heard the gigantic sound of rain falling in tons and avalanches everywhere and forever. Will it be 7 more years? Yes, 7. Then one of them gave a little cry. Margaret. What? She's still in the closet where we locked her. Margaret. They stood as if someone had driven them like so many stakes into the floor. They looked at each other and then looked away. They glanced out at the world that was now raining and raining and raining steadily. They could not meet each other's glances. Their faces were solemn and pale. They looked down at their hands and feet, and their faces fell. Margaret, one of the girls said, Well? No one moved. Go on, whispered the girl. They walked slowly down the hall in the sound of cold rain. They turned through the doorway to the room in the sound of the storm and thunder, lightning on their faces, blue and terrible. They walked over to the closet door, slowly, and stood by it. Behind the door was only silence. They unlocked the door even more slowly and let Margaret out. So what do you think is the lesson of this story? If you have someone there to discuss it with, you can pause the video and share your ideas. I think that when someone is different, like Margaret in the story, people can be cruel and get into fights. How would you like to change the ending of that story so that William and Margaret can heal from this terrible mistake? In one television adaptation, they changed the ending so that William had a chance to atone for the terrible act, and the whole class gave Margaret flowers as a way to apologize. In real life, it's better not to create a fight that's so hard to heal from. We can learn from science fiction stories like the one I just read you, or other pretend stories, and we can learn how to have a better ending, or if we had a fight with a friend. Have you ever had a fight with a friend? How would you change the ending if your fight didn't end up good? I'm going to now pass the microphone to Miss Jeanay so that she can do the meditation with you. Namaste. It's been really good to be with you. I love you all and wish you to be safe. See you next time.
Thank you, Miss Trish. My name is Jeanay Johnson, and I'm the Religious Education and Communications Coordinator here at Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, Florida. We're going to flow into our meditation, but before we do, I want to make sure that you guys know our drill. So each month, one session will feature a music base of mindful moments created by our partner, Leah Morris. Now, Leah Morris has music that we have for the mindfulness resources that we're going to listen to in just a moment here, okay? So, let's get to our comfortable spaces. Everybody get to your seats, settle in, settle down, and you've probably already been sitting already or you're driving, but let's get ourselves rooted in this moment right here, right now. Let's flow into our mindfulness meditation. I invite you to move into our meditation position. Sit comfortably in your chair or on the floor. Put your hands on your lap or on your knees. Sit up nice and tall and focus your eyes in front of you. Find your breath, breathing in your body by taking in one breath in through your nose and slowly breathing it out of your mouth.
In every place where I can feel, I might get hurt, but I can heal. On my forehead, on my nose, in my belly and on my toes. In every place where I can feel, I might get hurt, but I can heal. In my feelings on my knees, a little time and love can ease. In every place where I can feel, I might get hurt, but I can heal. It takes forgiveness, it takes time, an open heart, an open mind. In every place where I can feel, I might get hurt, but I can heal. Did you ever get an owl Band-Aid, Lucy? Did it hurt forever and ever? No. No? What happens?
I don't know.
Did you know that your body is so smart that it has special ways of fixing if you get a scrape on your knee or you get a little bump on your head, that your body, as soon as you get hurt, your body starts working on healing and feeling better. If you're able to let the hurt place do its magic, let your body do its natural magic, that it will automatically start working towards healing itself. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Even sometimes without Band-Aids, even without any help, your body automatically wants to be healed. How about you, Jacob? Did you ever get hurt?
Yeah.
How does it feel?
I feel sad and sometimes angry that I get hurt.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you might even get angry if you stub your toe. You might get angry at the edge of the bed, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever have a time when someone did something that hurt you or hurt your feelings?
Yeah. If someone says something to me that hurts my feelings, I don't go near them because I don't want to get my feelings hurt again.
That makes a lot of sense. So what do you do to feel better? How do we heal if we hurt our feelings, if something hurts our feelings, or if something hurts our skin? How do we get to a place where we feel better?
We forget about it.
Sometimes we're able to forget about it. What do you think it takes to forgive someone if they've hurt you?
Courage.
Wow, it does take courage. Even if you decide you never want to be around that person again, it still takes courage inside of yourself to decide that you don't want to focus on that hurt anymore. That's true. In every place where I can feel, I might get hurt, but I can heal.
How does that make you feel? How do those words make you feel? How does it move you? All right, so let's flow right into our explore. Time to explore. So we have some games on the newsletter that your parents can work with your kids together. Small group activities like experimental learning, if I may. So friends sometimes fight skits. Now this skit, just going to point out that friends that fight are normal. Fights between friends, let me rephrase that. Fights between friends are normal, okay? There are going to be times where, yes, you're not going to agree with your friend on what they say, and there's going to be a time where they don't agree with you, and there could possibly strike an argument. How do you come back from that type of scenario when you realize the problem is not as bad as losing the friendship, potentially? Who knows? Who knows? It's up to you to know the difference. To heal afterwards, here's some skills that we can try. So we're going to make up some skits about fights between friends and see if we can find a way back into the friendship. In real fights, sometimes the friendships just won't work out, like I just said. So learn that conflict is a part of life. It's the actions afterwards that can help heal. I invite you guys to link up and look up some things when they or someone they know got into a fight with a friend. For example, you can check out the first 5 minutes of this video that I'm going to play for you called Time Out, No Fighting, No Biting. So we're going to check out this video real quick and we're going to be right back. Now we're gonna go over the reasons why friends fight, okay? So they're feeling excluded, it could be a misunderstanding, changing in priorities, personality clash, broken trust, bullying, which we had touched on it last month in October. October was National Bullying Awareness Month. Feeling disconnected, also jealousy, different opinions, betrayal, manipulation, different values, peer pressure, competitiveness, changes in friendship group. There are so many things that you guys can practice together and practice on a role play. So you can put yourself in this person's shoes. Now, it might not turn out the way it did in real life, but we can try different endings if you want. Don't try to reach your resolution. We'll do that next. And then bring in some volunteers to pretend to be the friends that fought, to actually act out the scenario. So after the skit that you guys do together, thank everyone for coming in, and also sit and have a reflection during that. Could you have been overreacting? Is it worth losing a friend over? What made you upset, hurt, or angry? Who can you talk to outside of the situation? A lot of times that can help on getting a different perspective. So who knows? It's also a way to help things work out. So that can be fixing things together, being patient, celebrating, being open, talking about your feelings, keeping calm, being present, reaching out, making time to talk. So there are plenty of things that you can do in that space and helping you heal from a type of situation in that. But not all friends, just to be honest, not all fights end with friends working things out. Sometimes the end might not be even being friends anymore. If you guys have experienced this, there are some suggestions that I have in the newsletter as well that can, that are helpful if things don't work out, to help you prepare. So this could be a good time for you to know that I am here. If you guys ever need if you ever need an extra person to talk to about a conflict or something that you have with your friends, feel free to reach out to me. I am a great mediator, and I'm also here for you. All right? So thank you for taking the time out for this lesson this week. Oh, the take home for this lesson that we did. So parents, during the Explore time, we had focused on how we heal from fighting with friends. We acted out skits about fighting, and that's the skits that you guys did together with each other. You can ask your child if they actually played a role like that in their life, and actually bring it in and see if you as the parent can patiently be their moderator, their mediator in their problems that they have, because kids too have conflict. Just like adults, we have conflict in the workplace sometimes. Sometimes we have those coworkers that always eat our yogurt, or always leaves the copy machine on, is supposed to turn it off, or just so many random things that just gets underneath that skin. But helping helping our kids navigate this is also very helpful. So parents, it's also your job to be there. And also, just like I told the kids earlier, I'm also here. So thank you guys for checking out the lesson of this week. Thank you, Miss Trish, for your contribution. I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Be sure to check out our RE Weekly newsletter. Debuts every Friday, every week, to keep you informed with the lesson for the week, as well as helpful resources and calendar connections for the month. See you next week.